This is Mac OS Ken.
Apple's iPhone event gets a date, shifts and growth for Apple hardware, and a shift in release for a big Apple original. It is Wednesday, the 30th of August, 2023. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/MacOSCan. This will sound like an odd thing to say in the dog days of summer and the hottest heat of August. But yesterday, the ice broke. TechCrunch says Apple on Tuesday sent out announcements for its next big product/media event. As had been rumored, it will take place on Tuesday, the 12th of September, a scant 2 weeks from yesterday, assuming you're hearing this today, which I assume you are. Dubbed Wonderlust, a one-word play on words, the report likens the event graphic to the Thanos dust snap from the movie Avengers Infinity War. Now, if you're wondering what to expect from Apple's Wonderlust event, I'm really hoping they lean into the lust. 9to5Mac runs down a list of more probable offerings, though. That site's looking for likely 4 iPhone 15 models, including iPhone 15, iPhone 15 Plus, iPhone 15 Pro, and iPhone 15 Pro Max, an Apple Watch Series 9, a second edition Apple Watch Ultra, and AirPods with USB-C charging. Release dates for some or all of Apple's upcoming operating systems are also expected. They include iOS and iPadOS 17, watchOS 10, tvOS 17, and macOS 14 Sonoma. Speaking of those, developers got access to a new round of betas on Tuesday. A few pieces from Mac Rumors said Apple had made the 8th betas of iOS and iPadOS 17 available to the developer crew. They were joined by the 8th developer betas of watchOS 10 and tvOS 17. Likely having absolutely nothing to do with Apple's lusty event. Another piece from Mac Rumors says Apple on Tuesday made the 3rd developer beta of Vision OS available. I say that'll likely have nothing to do with the September event for a couple of reasons. First, Apple Vision Pro is not due out until early 2024. And second, Apple is not teasing the Wonderlust event with the usual VR trick. For the past few years, Apple special events have had what people have referred to as an augmented reality Easter egg on the front page. Personally, I stopped calling them Easter eggs because Easter eggs are hidden and sort of unexpected, while the AR things were totally expected and presented front and center. Not anymore. Ending a tradition that began ahead of its September 2020 product event, the piece from 9to5Mac says the Wonderlust announcement is the first iPhone event in years to not include an AR surprise, which actually makes it more of a surprise than it's been in recent years. You know, it would be funny if Apple has actually hidden this Easter egg, but hidden it so well that nobody's found it yet. Seems more likely, though, that AR teases will be reserved for AR events, now that Apple's tipped its hand. What is the largest market for iPhones in the world? At least one firm indicates it is China. Mac Rumors highlights insights from the market researcher TechInsight. That piece has that firm's global shipment report indicating that China accounted for 24% of all iPhone shipments in the second quarter of 2023, while the U.S. market accounted for 21%. Sort of sounds like U.S. consumers holding off on new phones helped China into the pole position. The piece says folks waiting for iPhone updates contributed to a sluggish smartphone market in the States. However, the piece says, TechInsight said its results at the same time reflected China's growing economic power, the burgeoning middle class, and the premium phone preferences of Chinese consumers. Mobile device management firm and former macOS Ken sponsor Kandji has numbers that should please Apple. According to the firm's Apple in the Enterprise report, the amount of Apple gear in the enterprise is growing. Apple Insider highlights Kandji's survey of over 300 IT professionals, including more than 100 C-level execs. Pulling some of its stats, the piece says 76% of large enterprises have increased their use of Apple devices in the last year. Of those who've added Apple gear, primary reasons listed include 56% citing reliability, 53% citing long life of Apple hardware, and 30% citing reduced total cost of ownership. Now, turning specifically to the Mac, a report this week from IDC says the Mac may get help from an unlikely company over the next couple of years. That firm says it expects global shipments of personal computers to start growing again in 2024, though they'll still fall short of 2019 pre-pandemic levels. They're not looking for a lot of growth from the consumer side. IDC says that side remains tepid at best as consumers continue to face economic headwinds. On the commercial side, though, businesses may be attracted by new processors from the likes of AMD and Apple, both of which are seeing growth in business. Additionally, AI has some decision makers thinking hard about future machines. Work from home is still a thing, which has businesses listening to workers about the kind of machines they want. And finally, there is an operating system shift on the horizon. You know, that unlikely helper I mentioned a moment ago? An IDC exec points out in the release that Microsoft will be sunsetting Windows 10 in 2025. According to the exec, this will drive commercial refresh regardless of whether companies are waiting on more advanced PCs or just needing to update an aging installed base. It seems clear that Apple sees an opportunity to continue its growth in the commercial segment, and this will be an angle to watch closely going forward. From more Macs at work to promotions at the college and university level, a piece from Apple Insider says the Cupertino company has opened its back-to-school sale for Joe and Jane College. The piece says the offers basically match the K-12 offerings from earlier this year. According to the report, the higher education-aimed version offers Apple gift cards worth up to $150 on top of the usual discounts that apply to education customers. Apple's offer runs through the 23rd of October. Remember the thousands of jobs and billions of dollars Foxconn was supposed to bring to the U.S. by way of Wisconsin? Yeah, never mind about that. A piece from Engadget plots the trajectory as best it can. In 2017, the piece says Foxconn announced its plans to open facilities in Wisconsin, promising an investment of $10 billion that would create as many as 13,000 jobs. In 2021, the piece says Foxconn drastically reworked those numbers, reducing the level of investment from $10 billion to $672 million. It also reduced the number of jobs it expected to create from 13,000 to just under 1,500. Now the piece says the contract manufacturer is selling 2 properties in Eau Claire and Green Bay, purchased for almost $12 million in 2018. Remember the Apple security guy whose attempted bribery case was thrown out in Northern California? Yeah, never mind that too. In November of 2020, after a 2-year investigation, Santa Clara District Attorney Jeff Rosen suspected members of the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Office of shaking down Apple security chief Thomas Moyer. Moyer was looking for concealed carry permits as part of his job protecting other Apple execs. While the DA seemed to believe that people with guns, that would be the sheriff's office, were shaking down Apple's security guy, they went after Apple's security guy for offering something of value. That was after the people with guns said he wouldn't get the concealed carry permits until they received something of value. 6 months later, the judge overseeing the case dismissed it. According to that judge, the bribery accusations were pure speculation and not supported by evidence presented to the grand jury. At the time, the DA said it would evaluate its options. Move ahead a little over 2 years, and Mr. Moyer is headed back to court. A piece from the Register says an appeals court has reversed a 2021 decision to drop a bribery charge against Apple's head of global security, who is accused of donating iPads worth up to $80,000 to a sheriff's office in exchange for giving his Cupertino agents concealed carry weapon licenses. Though he appears to have been leaned on and never actually handed over the iPads, the Register says the appeals judges said that even a promise to donate the tablets in exchange for giving Apple security guards concealed carry weapons paperwork could potentially be considered a bribe. For Moyer's part, his attorney is quoted as saying, "We strongly believe the Court of Appeal reached the wrong conclusion. Tom Moyer did not commit a crime, and we will continue fighting this case until he is exonerated." And that story is just the worst. And finally today, though there may be no actors allowed to promote it, one of Apple's biggest shows of the year will go on in a pretty big way. The Hollywood Reporter says the Cupertino company has reworked release plans for the Martin Scorsese film Killers of the Flower Moon. According to the report, Apple, in partnership with Paramount, has set a wide global theatrical release date of the 20th of October for the historical epic, nixing the previously planned limited theatrical release on the 6th of October before going wide. Now, to my untrained ear, that sounds like something of a reduction. However, the piece refers to the move as a doubling down on the release. Having seen it at Cannes, the Hollywood Reporter is effusive in its praise. According to its review earlier this year, the 3.5-hour running time is fully justified in an escalating tragedy that never loosens its grip, a sordid illustration of historical erasure with echoes in today's bitterly divisive political gamesmanship. The film boasts an unstoppable cast, including Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro, Lily Gladstone, Jesse Plemons, and many, many more. Slated for standard screens and IMAX, Killers of the Flower Moon will hit Apple TV Plus sometime after its theatrical run. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSKen. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. Info at macosken.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.